The vagrant spirit drifted through the Carina Nebula like any other merchant vessel, unremarkable, weathered, and seemingly harmless. Its hull bore the scars of countless micro-meteor impacts, and patches of mismatched paint gave it the appearance of a ship barely worth a second glance. That was exactly how Captain Nina Blackwood wanted it. Standing at the bridge viewport, Nina watched the massive Kraken Collective warships pass by her vessel without so much as a scanning ping. Her dark eyes reflected the distant stars as a slight smile played across her face. After 3 years of careful planning, everything was falling into place. "Status report," she said quietly, her voice carrying easily across the bridge despite its softness. The bridge crew, hand-picked for this mission, responded with practiced efficiency. "Engineering systems nominal, all signatures masked," reported Marcus Reed, his fingers dancing across what appeared to be outdated control panels. In reality, each panel concealed quantum state processors that would make military engineers weep with envy. 6 Kraken dreadnoughts detected, moving in standard patrol formation, announced Diane Wong from the sensor station. "They're maintaining their usual arrogance, minimal active scanning, relying primarily on passive sensors." "Of course they are," Nina murmured. "Why waste energy scanning every piece of space debris when you believe you're untouchable?" She turned to face her crew, her short silver hair catching the light from the holographic displays. "What's the status of our special package, Dr. Harrison?" James Harrison looked up from his workstation, where complex equations scrolled across multiple screens. "The quantum resonance disruptor is ready, Captain. 3 years of observing their shield frequencies has given us everything we need. They won't know what hit them." The vagrant spirit had been purpose-built for this mission, though no one outside this bridge knew it. While other ships in the Earth Defense Fleet had grown larger and more obvious in their power, Nina's vessel had gone the opposite direction. Every weapon was disguised as cargo handling equipment. Every sensor array was hidden behind seemingly damaged hull plates. The ship's true power source, a miniaturized quantum reactor, was masked by a noisy fusion drive that made the ship appear to be running on outdated technology. "Incoming transmission," Diane announced. "The Kraken flagship is broadcasting their usual warning." The harsh, metallic voice of the Kraken filled the bridge. "Attention inferior vessels. You have entered space claimed by the Kraken Collective. Prepare for inspection and taxation. Resistance will result in immediate destruction." Nana nodded to Diane. "Send our standard response. Make sure to include plenty of static and signal degradation." Diane activated the comm system, her voice taking on a nervous, almost whining quality. "This is independent trader Vagrant Spirit. We, static, carrying medical supplies, burst of noise, will comply with all regulations." The response came quickly. "Vagrant Spirit, maintain current course and speed. You are too insignificant to warrant immediate inspection. Remain on your registered flight plan or face consequences." The bridge crew maintained their professional demeanor, but Nina could see the slight smiles they tried to hide. The Kraken's dismissive attitude was exactly what they had spent years cultivating. Every detail of the vagrant spirit had been designed to be forgotten, to be dismissed as unworthy of attention. "Time to status point Alpha," Nina asked. Marcus checked his readings. 17 minutes at current speed, Captain. All systems remain masked and ready." Nina returned to the viewport, watching the massive Kraken ships. Their hull design was intended to inspire fear. All sharp angles and weapon ports, their dark metal hulls decorated with pulsing lines of crimson energy. They were beautiful in their way, she had to admit. Beautiful, powerful, and utterly predictable in their arrogance. "Send the signal to the fleet," she ordered quietly. "Operation Ghostlight is a go. Maintain radio silence from this point forward." Somewhere out in the nebula, hidden by clouds of cosmic dust and radiation, the real Earth Defense Fleet waited. But they weren't the key to this mission. The key was right here, in a ship so unremarkable that even the mighty Kraken Collective wouldn't see it coming until it was too late. Nina Blackwood had spent 3 years being ignored. Now she was about to show the galaxy why that had been the biggest mistake the Kraken could have made. Nina watched the chronometer tick down with practiced patience. The vagrant spirit continued its seemingly aimless drift through space, its engines producing the irregular power signature of a poorly maintained civilian vessel. Around them, the Kraken dreadnoughts maintained their patrol pattern, their crimson energy lines pulsing with barely contained power. "New contact," Diane reported, her voice low despite the fact that no one could hear them. "Kraken heavy cruiser approaching from Vector 317. They're running active scans." Marcus's hands moved across his console, making microscopic adjustments to their masking systems. Power signatures adjusted. "We're still reading as a Class 3 merchant vessel with deteriorating containment seals." The heavy cruiser grew larger in their viewport, its angular form bristling with weapon ports. Unlike the dreadnoughts, this ship was actively hunting. Nina had expected this. The Kraken always became more aggressive as they approached their primary bases. "They're hailing us," Diane announced. Nana nodded. "Put it through, everyone, remember. We're tired, frustrated, and slightly scared merchants." The harsh voice of a Kraken commander filled the bridge. "Vagrant spirit, your vessel is showing signs of critical system failure. Power down immediately and prepare for boarding. Any attempt to flee will result in your destruction." Dr. Harrison looked up from his station, his eyes showing concern. "Captain, if they board us, they won't find anything," Nina assured him. "Activation sequence for Protocol Omega-7." The crew moved with swift efficiency, initiating a series of carefully planned protocols. Hidden compartments sealed themselves. Advanced technology recessed into seemingly solid bulkheads. Within 30 seconds, the vagrant spirit appeared to be exactly what it claimed to be, a struggling merchant vessel on its last legs. "Vagrant spirit responding," Diane transmitted, her voice shaking perfectly. We're having some trouble with our power systems, attempting to comply with your orders." The Kraken cruiser drew closer, its massive form now filling their viewport. Energy readings spiked as it prepared its boarding tractors. Nina allowed herself a small smile. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Multiple new contacts. Diane's voice carried real surprise this time. 3 Kraken battlecruisers just emerged from FTL. They're heading straight for the primary patrol group. The space around them erupted in activity. The dreadnoughts broke formation, moving to intercept the new arrivals. Energy readings spiked as weapons powered up on both sides. Nana watched with intense interest. This wasn't part of their plan, which made it potentially dangerous and potentially useful. "Sir," Marcus called out, "I'm reading your regular shield harmonics from both groups. They're firing on each other." The vacuum of space lit up with energy weapons as Kraken fought Kraken. The heavy cruiser preparing to board them suddenly powered up its main drives, abandoning its inspection to join the battle. Civil war. Dr. Harrison wondered aloud, watching the conflict unfold. Internal power struggle. "It doesn't matter," Nina stated firmly. "This is an opportunity. Marcus, begin power-up sequence for our primary systems, but keep them masked by the battle's energy signatures. Diane, make sure you're recording every second of this. I want detailed analysis of their combat patterns. James, how long until the quantum resonance disruptor can get a lock on their shield frequencies? 3 minutes for basic analysis, 7 for a complete pattern match." Harrison replied, his fingers flying across his console. The battle is actually helping. They're using their full combat systems now, not just patrol configurations. Nana turned to her crew, her eyes bright with controlled excitement. "The universe just handed us a gift, people. Instead of having to track down each group separately, they've come together to fight each other. Diane, signal the fleet. Tell them to maintain position, but be ready. We're about to show both sides of this Kraken power struggle why they should have paid more attention to the little merchant ship they all ignored." The battle raged around them, neither side sparing a thought for the seemingly crippled civilian vessel in their midst. Energy weapons powerful enough to crack planets lashed back and forth, while shields flared with impossible amounts of power. The Kraken were masters of energy manipulation, their technology far beyond what humanity had officially achieved. But they had never imagined that their greatest weakness would be their own certainty of superiority. Quantum resonance pattern at 60% match, Harrison reported. I'm seeing similarities in both groups' shield configurations. They might have different leaders, but their basic technology is identical. Of course it is, Nina replied. They're too proud to admit anyone else's way might be better. That pride is about to cost them everything. She turned to the viewport, watching the battle with predatory focus. Prepare to launch our first strike. Let's show these Kraken why humanity's greatest weapon has always been our ability to be underestimated. The space around the vagrant spirit blazed with energy as the two Kraken factions tore into each other. Shields flared and hulls buckled under the assault of weapons that could shatter moons. Through it all, Nana's crew worked with quiet efficiency, gathering data that would have taken months to collect under normal circumstances. Quantum resonance pattern at 98% match, Harrison announced, his voice tight with excitement. Both Kraken factions are using identical shield harmonics. The variations are minimal, probably more about personal preference than actual tactical advantage. Nina nodded, her silver hair reflecting the flashes of battle. Their arrogance works in our favor again. They're so convinced of their technological superiority that they never considered the need to fundamentally change their approach. She turned to Marcus. Status of our true systems. All power signatures are still masked by the battle, he reported. The quantum core is at full capacity, and weapon systems are ready. The holographic hull masking is stable. We still look like a damaged merchant vessel to any observers. A massive explosion lit up the viewport as one of the Kraken battlecruisers succumbed to concentrated fire from two dreadnoughts. The shockwave rattled the vagrant spirit, but its true hull, hidden beneath layers of holographic camouflage, easily absorbed the impact. New development, Diane called out. I'm intercepting communications between the factions. Translation matrix is working. It seems the rebel group is led by someone called Supreme Commander Vorax. They're accusing the loyalists of, she paused, double-checking her readings, of becoming weak through tolerance of inferior species. Fascinating, Nina mused. A power struggle between hardliners and moderates, perhaps. Not that it matters, both sides are equally guilty of underestimating humanity. She straightened in her command chair. Status of the fleet. Earth Defense Fleet maintains position in the nebula, Diane confirmed. They're ready to move on your signal. Nina's eyes narrowed as she watched the battle. The rebels were losing ground, their initial surprise advantage fading against superior numbers. Soon, the Loyalists would reestablish control, and both sides would resume their persecution of inferior species. Unless, James, is the quantum resonance disruptor ready? Harrison nodded emphatically. Ready and locked on. The battle has given us perfect targeting data for both factions. Good. Nina's voice carried the weight of 3 years of preparation. Diane, prepare a broadcast on all frequencies. Marcus, drop the holographic masking on my mark. It's time to show the Kraken exactly what they've been ignoring. The crew tensed with anticipation as Nina stood, moving to the center of the bridge. Around them, the battle continued to rage, neither Kraken faction paying any attention to the seemingly crippled merchant vessel in their midst. Now, Nina commanded. The vagrant spirit's transformation was beautiful in its suddenness. The holographic camouflage fell away, revealing a hull of midnight black metal inscribed with pulsing lines of blue energy. Hidden weapon ports opened like blooming flowers, each containing technology that had been carefully reverse-engineered from years of observing Kraken ships. The quantum core's energy signature, no longer masked, caused every sensor in the vicinity to screen warnings. Broadcasting, Diane announced. Nina's voice, calm and clear, carried across all frequencies. Attention Kraken vessels. This is Captain Nana Blackwood of the Earth Defense Vessel Vagrant Spirit. For 3 years, you've ignored us, dismissed us, treated us as beneath your notice. That ends today." The battle around them stuttered to a halt as both Kraken factions finally, too late, turned their attention to the vessel they had dismissed as irrelevant. Nina allowed herself a small, satisfied smile as she continued. "You're probably wondering why your sensors are having trouble getting a lock on us, why your targeting systems are showing errors. That's because, while you were busy playing at Civil War, we've been studying you, learning you, understanding exactly how your supposedly superior technology works." Harrison's voice carried across the bridge. "Quantum resonance disruptor at full power, Captain. Ready on your order." Nina's eyes gleamed in the light of the pulsing energy lines that now decorated her ship. "To both factions of the Kraken Collective, I say this. Your time of technological supremacy is over. Humanity is done being underestimated." She paused for effect, knowing that every Kraken commander was now frantically trying to understand how they had missed such a threat. "And now," she concluded, "we're going to show you exactly why you should have paid more attention to that little merchant ship you all ignored." Space erupted into chaos as the vagrant spirit unleashed its true power. The quantum resonance disruptor fired, sending out waves of invisible energy that interfaced perfectly with the Kraken ship's shield harmonics. Across the battlefield, the supposedly impenetrable defenses of both Rebel and Loyalist vessels flickered and died. "Impossible." The voice of Supreme Commander Vorax boomed across all channels. "No inferior species could penetrate our shield technology." Multiple Kraken vessels powering up primary weapons, Diane reported calmly. "They're targeting us with everything they have." Nina's response was quick and decisive. "Execute combat pattern Delta. Show them what else we've learned while they weren't watching." The vagrant spirit moved with impossible grace, its true engines finally revealed. Where before it had appeared to drift helplessly, now it danced through space with precision that made the Kraken ships look clumsy in comparison. Energy beams from a dozen capital ships sliced through empty space as the human vessel evaded their attacks with practiced ease. "Their targeting systems are still based on predicted movement patterns," Marcus explained, his hands flying across his controls. 3 years of watching them fight gave us everything we needed to know about their combat algorithms." Harrison's voice carried across the bridge. "Captain, the quantum resonance effect is spreading exactly as designed. Their attempts to re-establish shields are actually making the disruption worse." The Kraken ships began to break formation, their usual perfect coordination shattered by the appearance of an enemy they couldn't easily defeat. Nina watched with satisfaction as both Rebel and Loyalist vessels struggled to adapt to a situation their superiority had never prepared them for. "Signal from the nebula," Diane announced. "The Earth Defense Fleet is in position." Nina nodded. "Send the confirmation. Tell them to wait for my mark." She turned to her crew, her eyes bright with contained excitement. "Let's make our final point clear. Target the Rebel flagship's primary power core. Minimal yield, maximum precision." The vagrant spirit's main weapons powered up, their energy signatures perfectly matched to penetrate Kraken hull designs. A single shot lanced out, bypassing the disabled shields and striking exactly where Nina had ordered. Supreme Commander Vorax's vessel didn't explode. Instead, its power system simply shut down, leaving it drifting helplessly in space. "To all Kraken vessels," Nina broadcast, her voice carrying authority earned through years of patient preparation. "That shot could have destroyed your commander's ship. Instead, we chose to disable it. Remember that moment of mercy. It's something your people have never shown to those you consider inferior." The Loyalist forces, led by their remaining dreadnoughts, began to regroup. Nina allowed them the moment to recover, watching as they attempted to form a defensive pattern around their stricken allies. "A fascinating response," she observed to her crew. "Even in defeat, they try to protect their own." She opened the broadcast channel again. "Kraken Collective, you now face a choice. The Earth Defense Fleet is prepared to emerge from the nebula and destroy every ship in this sector. That is what you would do in our position, isn't it? Eliminate any threat to your supremacy. The channel crackled as the loyalist commander responded, their usual arrogance replaced by cautious respect. "You have proven your strength, human vessel. What are your terms?" Nina smiled. "Open diplomatic channels. Recognize humanity and all other spacefaring species as equals. End your policy of technological suppression against those you consider inferior. In exchange, we'll help you restore power to your disabled vessels and share the advancements we've made, including some improvements to your shield designs that your pride never let you consider." Silence filled the battlefield as the Kraken commanders considered their options. Nana waited patiently, knowing they could see the energy signatures of the Earth defense fleet moving into attack position within the nebula. Finally, the loyalist commander spoke again. "Your terms are acceptable. The Kraken Collective acknowledges humanity's achievement. You have earned our respect through both strength and mercy. Signal the fleet," Nina ordered Diane. "Tell them to maintain position but power down weapons." She turned to Harrison. "Begin power restoration protocols for the disabled Kraken ships. Let's show them that humanity's greatest strength isn't our ability to win fights. It's our ability to end them without destroying our opponents." As her crew carried out their orders, Nina returned to the viewport. The vagrant spirit, no longer hiding its true nature, now floated proudly among the Kraken vessels. Its black hull and blue energy lines stood as a testament to human ingenuity and patience. 3 years, she mused quietly. 3 years of being ignored, underestimated, and dismissed. And in the end, that was the greatest gift they could have given us. She smiled at her crew, because sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't the threat you can see. It's the one you trained yourself not to notice. The vagrant spirit's quantum core hummed with power as the work of restoring the Kraken ships began. Around them, the stars shone steadily, witnesses to the day when humanity proved that true strength lies not in overwhelming power, but in the wisdom to know how to use it.